Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. About 30 minutes of business is what awaits you before we head back to the Sunrise Daily studio. We start from global oil prices, where prices eased for a third day on Friday and were on track to fall for the week, as investors are focusing on expectations of increased output from Libya and broader OPEC Plus group, although fresh stimulus from top importer China limited losses. Take a look at the numbers now. Brent for this morning lost 20 cents. That's about 0.28% to $71.40. Funny how we see Brent hovering far below $80. Not a usual sight. I don't know if we can get used to it. For WTI, it also lost. It went down this morning, 0.21%. That's about 14 cents, $67.53 a barrel. So as I mentioned before, rival factions staking claims for control of the Central Bank of Libya signed an agreement to end the dispute. So that may increase supply from that aspect. That's one reason. About 400,000 barrels of oil is expected this month from there. So that is one factor that's cooling oil prices. Also, OPEC and its allies, OPEC Plus, they're cutting oil output by a total of 5.86%, but plans to reverse 180,000 barrels of those cuts by December. So these are the factors driving oil prices, global oil prices at this time. Now let's come back home to Nigeria. Data released by Major Energies Marketers Association of Nigeria suggests that the landing cost of premium motor spirit, yes, petrol, that it has dropped to 981 naira for a litre. That's the landing cost. Some good news, but let's understand it. The petrol landing cost around 1,130 in previous weeks came down by 140 naira as of September 25th, this Wednesday, occasioned by a recent drop in global oil prices. So there you have it, drop in oil prices. We get to enjoy some, but we'll also lose our revenue because we do sell crude, So crude oil price and foreign exchange rate are the major factors that determine the cost of refined petroleum products, including petrol, diesel, aviation fuel, kerosene, among others. And yes, even when it's coming from Dangote, Dangote still pays global price for crude. So it still fits in to the cost of petrol at the pump. Now, still staying in that region, the House of Representatives has referred a motion to allow other petroleum marketers to lift premium motor spirit directly from Dangote refinery to a joint National Assembly ad hoc committee. The motion was raised by Honorable Oboku Ofoji, who argues that the coming on board of Dangote refinery points Nigeria in the direction of self-sufficiency for petrol. Similarly, the House of Reps has passed a resolution to investigate allegations of bribery against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Our correspondent, Terry Kumi, filed in that report.
It's the final plenary of the week in the House of Representatives. The back and forth in the petroleum industry regarding the Dangote refinery takes center stage as the House debates the decision of the NNPC to be the sole lifter of PMS from the refinery.
The Speaker, the House resolved, or the federal government, to mandate the NNPCL and the Dangote refinery to allow the independent marketers to lift PMS from the Dangote refinery. Mandate the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, to reveal the price itself crude oil to the Dangote refinery, and also mandate the Dangote refinery to reveal the price itself PMS to the NNPCL to ensure transparency.
We may recall that a couple of weeks ago we set up an ad hoc committee, which was inaugurated, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago, on this same subject matter.
I do not think at this level that the issue of NNPCL and Dangote refinery should be confined to the committee level. I want to suggest and amend the prayers in the motion that the GMD of NNPCL should be invited, summoned by this House.
The Speaker guides the debate to a conclusion.
We are supposed to inaugurate the joint House and Senate committee to investigate this issue holistically. But we decided after consultation that we should make the announcement today of the membership and fix a date next week for the inauguration of this committee. And one of the terms of the reference is to look into this same thing you are talking about. So I think it would be a duplication of efforts.
Another matter before the House is the allegation of bribery against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, following a trend in social media voice conversation involving one Idris Okuneye, a cross-dresser sentenced earlier this year to 6 months in prison for mutilation of Naira notes.
The House also notes the publication alleges that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, dropped money laundering charges against Idris Okuneye, also known as Bob Risky, upon collection of the sum of 15 million naira. This House further notes that the publication alleges that the Idris Okuneye, upon conviction for abuse and defacing of the naira by the court, did not serve his time at the Nigerian Correctional Service, but was lodged outside the confines of the service.
The motion is adopted and an investigation is to follow immediately. The House then turns its attention to a motion calling for the commencement of academic activities at the University of Maritime Studies.
The House notes that the legislative framework which upgraded the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oron, to the University of Maritime Studies, Oron, was assented to by the former President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, in 2023.
Part of the resolutions is to invite the Minister of Education and the Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund to explain the delay in the commencement of academic activities at the Maritime School. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
It was indeed a busy day for members of the House of Representatives yesterday. And of course, the issue of not making NNPCL the sole lifter of Dangote Petrol is one that has been on, and I believe will be on until we see an end to that, or perhaps a change one way or the other. Now, let's look at the Naira. Thank God, yesterday we saw that there was it began calm, but at least there was a gain at the close of trade, only because the CBN intervened. But I mean, we've seen the CBN intervene even before now, and the Naira still dropped in value. But yesterday was different, thankfully. On NAFEM, the Naira gained 5.48% at the close of trade, and that's about 91 Naira 32 kobo added to the value of the Naira by the close of trade on Thursday. So it closed at 1,576 Naira 10 kobo. Well, a comfortable place for us at this time. On NAFEX, it was, however, on the flip side, 0.71% drop to close at 1,665 Naira 37 kobo. Obviously, I guess we can still expect more intervention. And the intervention for yesterday was towards the banks. You know, the other one was to the BDCs. It was towards the banks, and that's why we saw that change, that huge change on NAFEM right there. A bit of corporate now. The chairman of FBN Holdings, Femi Otedola, has increased his stake in the financial company to 13.15%. This follows his purchase of 534 million shares for 16.02 billion naira between September 23 and September 25th. So we've been seeing FBN Holdings surge, and we've been watching what's going on. So obviously, this is what has been driving the price of FBN Holding after, the stake that they sold out in their subsidiary and all of that. So Mr. Otedola has been market driver for FBN Holding. Well, with this acquisition, Otedola's total shares in FBN Holdings now stands at 4.72 billion. And this move further solidifies him as the largest shareholder, widening the gap between him and Barbican Capital Limited, which is the second largest investor with 8.67% stake worth 0.2 billion naira. Well, I guess the competition goes on. Maybe Mr. Otedola will acquire even more, and we'll see what Barbican will do about that. Now, we started a conversation this time last week, and that was with Mr. Joko Kuke, talking about states rubbing hands with the private sector to increase their revenue. Well, they do have a summit coming on, which is going to focus on that. But let's discuss now with Mr. Okupe. Mr. Joko Okupe comes in again today. Mr. Joko Okupe is the Chief Executive Officer of Modoante and is the initiator of a Co-Revenue Plus Summit. But he's not alone.
Good morning.
This is the private sector. We have the public sector. We have the special assistant to the governor of Lagos State on taxation and revenue, Mr. Abdulkadir Okpayemi Ogungo. You're welcome, Mr. Ogungo. SA to governor. So this is just doing it practical. Private, public. You're welcome to the program. Good to have you again, Mr. Okupe. You were here last week, and we did talk about this. And then you now mentioned that you do have this summit coming on, which is where you're going to handle some issues that actually either challenge or could boost the PPP to boost for states' revenue to increase. So what are we expecting at the summit? Tell us about the summit. Let's start from there. You're the initiator of it.
Well, the summit is a collaboration between Modoante and the Lagos State government through the office of the special advisor to the governor on taxation and revenue. And essentially, what we're looking at, the summit comes up October 22 and 23 this year, 2024, at the Eco Hotel. Now, essentially, the focus is to drive revenue generation, for Lagos State. We all know the story of Lagos, how Lagos continually receives new entrants and visitors, on a regular basis, and how there's a need to catch up with development to cater for those people. So the essence of the summit is to bring private sector. Already there's so much that's happening between the private and public sector, but the summit is to strengthen this and to break into some more areas. So we have concentration and focus for this particular edition of the summit on the property sector, on the digital economy, on the informal sector, on the circular economy, and IPP and energy. So essentially, we're going to focus on strengthening public-private partnerships in those sectors of the economy to work towards the government's dream of improving IGR for the state.
So obviously the state will be interested in this, but I mean, people don't like tax. and in Nigeria, a lot of people do believe that we're not seeing the fruit of tax. I'm not sure you have a lot of friends in Lagos. So is this all about taxing this summit and the revenue that we're looking to boost?
Thank you. Actually, this is conceptualized around development of further engagement to change some of the perceived and misconception within the residents and the citizens of Lagos. Like you rightly said, a lot of people believe that when you talk about tax, it's about burden, without knowing that it's a contribution to our collective goal to what we have desired as a state or as a nation. So developed countries, subnationals, leverage on partnership with our citizens to develop their collective agenda, and that is where revenue comes in. So you can only drive your goals through revenue, and this we are trying to bring around during this summit to emphasize the need to rebrand, that is changing the misconception that's already going on, to revamp, to, if we need to rebuild by engagement, leveraging on resources of the private partnership, relate, engaging with the key stakeholders. A lot of people feel that government, because we can't talk enough around revenue or engagement on the need for people to actually pay to the state. So based on that, we are trying to also use the opportunity to engage the stakeholders. And lastly, is also to reward. We want to use the opportunity as well to identify number of payers who have significantly contributed to the growing of Lagos State. So we need to also bring the opportunity to reward and also send signal to recalcitrant payers to say that it is our collective responsibility, is civic responsibility, is social responsibility, and is moral responsibility for us to support the states that we all elected to govern us.
Okay, all right. Let's just take a short break and get to know more about this, and then we'll be back. I know the reward caught my attention. I'm sure it got a lot of people's attention. But let's take a break, and then we'll be back to discuss more about the summit and perhaps how you can be a part of it. You're welcome back. Still Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. And yes, we're discussing that you just saw, the Eco Plus Revenue Plus Summit. Eco Revenue Plus Summit. Yes. All right. And we have the CEO of Modoante right here, collaborating with Lagos State Government, the SA, here. So we hear that you want to boost revenue for the states. And the essay was just looking before we went on break on some of the incentives of, being a good taxpayer. But how do you hope to achieve this? What should we expect at the meeting? Is it conversations with who? Who are those in attendance? Who are those who can attend?
Well, the summit is open to private sector. We're looking at investors, potential investors, in some of the initiatives that have come up. We're looking at technical partners also to come on board. And then, of course, the government itself has a role to play. Because whatever initiative you come up with, it requires the collaboration of all stakeholders to make it happen. So for some of the initiatives that we've come up with, there is a requirement for the government to understand, for the citizens to understand, and for the investors to understand, and the technical partners to understand. Like I listed out the sectors that we're concentrating on. For each of those sectors, we've come up with initiatives that we have developed. For each of the sectors, we're looking more at value exchange revenues.
What do you mean by that?
Right. What we mean by that is that we're looking to deploying technology and innovations in rendering some form of service in some situations to citizens that makes their life easier and they can pay for. If you look at, for example, the e-court management system that I spoke about it briefly the last time, that makes it easy for citizens to do their affidavits in the comfort of their rooms, in the comfort of their offices, on their laptops and all of that. So we're going to deploy technology in each of these sectors and innovations that will unlock new revenue streams. Of course, we will also widen the tax net, because if you look at the informal sector in Lagos debatably has a population of 20 million plus people, figures being bandied here and there. Those that are captured within the formal sector, are just about 2 million of those. So we have almost 18 million, that are floating around. So we thought that if we come up with an initiative that incentivizes the informal sector, to come into the tax net. Of course, a lot of people are doing business in Lagos, and the state is not gaining anything from the activities that they do. So we are focused on all the stakeholder groups, to be at the summit. So who can attend? Investors, banks, financial institutions, people who have technical expertise in one or more of those areas, the players in the circular economy, the players in the digital economy, the players in the informal sector. Everybody is welcome. And of course, for states and for government, it becomes an avenue where conversations by specialists will open up their hearts and minds as to the possibilities that are available.
I hope they will have the opportunity to have that conversation with specialists, and especially the government. It's not easy to access government people in this country. Even as a journalist, we struggle to do that. You have Lagos? In Lagos, yes. I mentioned an issue with him when he was here on Friday, raised by an exporter. I've reached out to Lagos State government. How an exporter has said that heading to the port, they have about how many stands, and they have to pay 20,000 naira to non-state actors. And this exporter is a big fish in that line in Lagos, in Nigeria, and has pursued the issue. And I've been trying to get response from Lagos State government. It's been weeks. I haven't been able to. I did tell him to help me talk to you guys. I'm not sure he has done that with you, so I won't put you on the spot. But I mean, even apart from that, the issue of multiple taxation is a very common conversation in Lagos State. So now that you say you want to boost your revenue, people will be like, I mean, this is another round of taxes coming in one way or the other. So perhaps you can explain how people will not feel burdened, you know, even though you want to boost your revenue in the state.
Oh, thank you. Let me quickly use that to address the earlier conversation about so many roadblocks and the likes. So I'm sure you're aware of the Presidential Committee on Tax Reform and Fiscal Policy set up by Mr. President. And in a very swift manner, Mr. Governor has set up the corresponding team in Lagos to work with that team. And the essence of that team is to ensure that we reduce in alignment with what the federal government is thinking about to a single-digit revenue, so that we don't further, stress the already stressed businesses and the likes. So, and what we're doing around that, the instruction is that we ensure that we put all the revenues that looks very similar, like we're starting with the hospitality business, for instance, in ensuring that we reduce the number of revenue that they pay into a singular and more, accessible form. So we can tell you in a number of weeks, you'll be seeing the result of trying to reduce some of these and ensuring that end-to-end engagement is ongoing to ensure that local government, state government, and federal government aligns in what each person's collect. Because currently what we have is that there is established taxes and levies approved list for collection act, which gives each of these tiers of government what revenue to collect. So most of the time we see some form of perception that looks like it's an overlap. For instance, local government is allowed to collect certain revenue, and states are also empowered to collect another revenue. So when individual, like somebody setting up a business, like a barbering shop, or a cafe, set up a system, so they want to see that LASA, which is empowered to look at how they advertise that business, comes in. The local government that want to collect kiosk, business license, and all of that comes in as well. So when you see multiple of these engagement, a lot of people perceive it to be multiple taxation. But in any case, so we are looking at how to harmonize some of these things so that we can relieve the people. The purpose and the linkage to this summit is to ensure that the stakeholders are brought together and have a very thorough conversation to ensure that we align ourselves, because we can't talk enough. Citizen says that, oh, government, you have a lot of things, you don't tell us what you want to do, how you want to do it, and co. So this is another opportunity for us to talk more and to engage the real in a practical solution to
I like that you use the word practical, because we do have a lot of talks in Nigeria.
Yes.
We do have a lot of meetings. So I mean, I hope that at the end of this summit there'll be practical steps with timelines, so people can follow to say, oh, from this summit, these are the results, these are the agreements, these are the timelines. So if we don't see this at this time, it means something has gone wrong.
Yeah, so we can say that this is exactly what we're trying to do.
Okay. All right. As we close now, because we have to head back to the Sunrise Daily Studio, Mr. Akupe. So people just walk into the hall on the, I think you said 22nd. People just walk into the hall. Do they need to do anything to be part of
the website is up.
What's the website?
They have to www.ecorevenuesummit.com or ecorevenueplussummit.com. Either one goes. All the instructions of how to participate Either you want to be an exhibitor, or you just want to attend, to attend for the 2 days, or you want to be a technical partner with some of the initiatives, or you want to be an investor with some of the initiatives. All the information is there on the website. And then for the award night also, because it's possible that you want to attend the summit, but you don't want to attend the award night. The award night, like the SA said, is to reward those, both in public and private sector, who have enabled and supported the state government in its revenue drive to this date. Compliance, to tax payment, and all manners of support that have been given. They're going to be rewarded and awarded on that award night. So all the information is available on the website.
Yeah, I'm sure people would like to get rewarded and awarded. But thank you so much, Mr. Joko Kupe, Chief Executive Officer of Modo Ante, and also the initiator of Eco Revenue Plus Summit, and also the Special Advisor to the Governor of Lagos State on Taxation and Revenue, Mr. Abdulkadir Okoyemi Ogunbo. Thank you so much. I wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
During the summit.
All right, thank you.
All right, so that's it. That's the much we can take on the program. We have to head back now to the Sunrise Daily studio. Thank you so much. I'll see you at 1 p.m. It will be myself and Aniti Edet. We'll take you around the world of business in 55 minutes. We'll give you market numbers then, intraday market numbers. So do join me then. Let's head back to Sunrise Daily.